Dear Diary, today I take the next step in being an ADHD life coach at Indigo Hub. I can't believe it's happening. I want to build, create, and discover a place for us to truly be ourselves. I think this journey will be... The Indigo Diary. Dear Diary, welcome to the Indigo Diaries, and welcome to our Series 3, The World Through Our Eyes, with your host, me, Tasha Hicklin. The Indigo Diaries is a podcast for those who want to learn about neurodivergency through our own and others' experiences. And welcome back. It's the first one I've recorded in a while, so it feels a bit strange. It's almost like you're getting back into it. But we're joined by the wonderful Holly again. I say again because she keeps making a reappearance on this series, which is absolutely brilliant. It's really nice when you find someone you gel with and just want them back and they agree to come back. That makes it even better. And last time we've been doing quite deep things. So not that these subjects are not deep, but we kind of wanted to do a bit more practical things and a bit more like fundamental things rather than the deep emotional stuff. As it comes, we close the end of the year. So we're going to be doing a 2-part series of kind of exercise and food. And we're really looking forward to this. So today is about kind of exercise management, what we can do about that. And then next time will be more around food. And we were kind of talking, and you can't really do one without the other. So welcome back, Holly.
Thank you. It's always good to be here. Thanks for having me.
So exercise, and I put that word out because I always find that when people say exercise, it's kind of okay. It can mean, I found that it can mean a lot of different things for a lot of different people. But when you hear the word exercise, what instantly comes to your mind?
So for me, I enjoy it. For other people, it triggers all kinds of negative responses. I know I have had people tell me that they can't stand sweating. They don't want to have to move and they don't want to have to sweat. You know, I know people that can't survive without it. You know, it's as powerful as other things in their lives that are keeping them going. And for some people, it can also feel prescriptive or like they've done something wrong. And so, oh, now you've done this and now you need to go exercise. So I think a lot about the attitude that we develop based on what we experienced in our PE classes growing up, based on the family that we were raised in, or, you know, the lifestyle that we've chosen now. So it seems like a simple word, but I think there can be a lot attached to it.
Yeah, that's why I said that, because for me, I'm also the same, that I love it. So I have to have it. It's an absolute need. But I mean, we all need it, but I think it can mean very different things and it can look very differently. But I feel like sometimes there's that expectation that you've got to exercise this amount of time and you've got to run or you've got to do yoga. And I think that's why we want to get to at the end of this session, is that exercise can look very differently for very many different people.
Absolutely. It can, there's a lot of different ways you can get movement and exercise in.
Yeah. So I just don't want you to hear the word exercise and say, oh no, they're going to tell me that I need to go running 3 times a week. We're not saying that. We're going to try and find your way of doing it, hopefully by the end of today. So we're just going to kind of take the word exercise and fitness and kind of talk about what the benefits of why do we actually put ourselves through this? Like, what is it that, so Holly, for you, what's the reason why you exercise?
I mean, there's so many reasons. I want to maintain balance and flexibility. The more you move, the more you're able to move. And then I think it also helps with mental flexibility and cognitive capacity. And I feel better afterwards. I just feel like there's so many benefits to it. And I've learned over the years to choose things that I enjoy doing, not things I feel like I should be doing.
Yeah.
So for the most part, when I'm exercising, there are periods of discomfort. For the most part, I enjoy it, and I feel good moving in my body, and it impacts my mood in a very positive way. And I feel stronger physically, which then kind of overlaps into my life, just feeling stronger as a person in general. How about you?
I always say that exercise for me is, it's physical, but it's mental. I I'll talk about more about that later about how I do it. But I say that, like, if I'm going to be sat down all day working with clients, there is absolutely no way I can't have moved in the morning. And I think that that's the thing for me. It's not just, yes, it's a physical thing. I'm going to physically feel stronger and all that, but it's also a mental thing of, it makes me feel better. It creates more, and we'll talk about the brain in a minute. It creates more serotonin. It gives me a boost. It's a natural dopamine, but it makes my mind clear, content, and it just brings me, it's almost like a natural regulation hit. And that's what I think for me is the biggest reason why I exercise, because it helps me feel better, not just physically.
Absolutely. I experienced the same thing. Yeah.
So, like, what would you say? Obviously, we're going to talk about benefits. So, like, why do we do it? That's obviously why we do it. But why do we just do it in general?
Well, I think there's also maintaining our health and our mobility and mental health. And as you said, kind of this clarity and this regulation, everyone's life, at least that I know of, is filled with a fair amount of stress and sometimes anxiety. And it can be a protective factor in the body and the brain for stress. It can be a relief from anxious thoughts or stress. It can be a time to just kind of check away from that a little bit. And then just chemically, what it does to our brains and what it does to our bodies and muscle tone and all of that. There's just so many benefits.
Yeah. And like from the neurodivergent perspective, it calms your nervous system. So your nervous system, we've talked a lot about this, but your nervous system is your mind and your body that connects through your nerves, through your nervous system. It is a regulation, right? It's a way of releasing things. It releases serotonin. It releases, GABA. It improves your fitness. It then lifts your mood. It boosts your immune system. Then creates your strength. Then it means your prefrontal cortex at the front of your brain can work properly, which means you can sit. You can exercise your brain as much as you can. And I think that's the key element, that you're doing it, but then that's going to trigger these nerves into your brain that's going to give you these chemicals that not only help your brain but also help your body. And I think that that's, for me, when I learned that connection, the connection between my nerves and my brain, that made me go, oh, so I'm actually doing this for a reason, not just for my actual physical body.
Right, right. And you touched on so many good things in there. And if you're a person that really wants to get into the science of this, the book Spark by John Ratey is filled with great science and amazing research that just over and over again confirms how powerful it is for our brains and our bodies to have this.
Yeah.
And he really does a fantastic job of connecting it to executive function as well.
Yeah. Because if you think about it, like your brain, like your front of your brain, like if we don't, like, let's think about it as ourselves. If we don't get fed, right? If we don't feed ourselves or give ourselves oxygen, our brain and body is just going to not. It's just not going to be able to work and function, right? It's just going to ultimately go. It's not going to do anything. And it's almost like a fuel for your brain, for your body, for everything. And I think that I know for me, it is honestly like, for my ADHD and my autism, it is a natural dopamine. I get dopamine from doing it. I get from afterwards, before, not always before, but afterwards, it makes me feel better. And without that every day, it makes things a lot harder mentally and physically. It makes me feel more drained, it makes me feel less energized, less things. And I think that when you take, and that's why I like John Ratey's book, because it takes that neurodivergent executive function lens of, like, if we don't eat, we're not going to do anything, right? And our brains need dopamine. So it is a natural, when people come to me and they say, what ways do you manage your ADHD? And I'm like, if you take everything out of it, food, sleep, and exercise are the three things that are, without that, it doesn't matter what you do.
Yeah. And you know, the exciting part about this though is the neuroplasticity of the brain. And he found one of the studies that he cites is that if you stick to a schedule, your brain actually will start to sprout new dopamine receptors. There will be positive changes in the brain.
Yeah.
You know, there was a study that showed increased memory in the hippocampus, which was closely tied to emotion and executive function and motivation. So there are just so many documented reasons and benefits.
Yeah. And that's the thing, it is there's so many benefits. And but also going back to what you said there, which means the more you get into it and when you do, the easier it will be. And I think that sometimes
Yeah.
is we think, oh, it's going to be it is a habit, and it is something that we have to start with, and we're hopefully in the second half we're going to do that. But also in society, when we think about exercise, we think a lot about our physical, the way we look and our appearance, rather than actually what it does for us as people and as our day. And I think for me, the day I stopped thinking about that is the day I actually started exercising consistently, because I stopped going, oh, it's to get thin or it's to do this. And I started to go, no, it's for my body. It's actually what I need rather than I'm doing this for this reason.
I agree. I think it's all about the motivation to stay healthy and take care of yourself. And maybe there are side effects or side benefits of that.
Mm.
Um, but really the focus, I think there's more success in sticking with it if it's about feeling good and maintaining your body and your mind in a healthy and a strong way.
I couldn't agree anymore. Yeah. And I think that that's what it does. I think, we can go into the science all behind this, but it basically, it gives you things, it gives you fuel, it gives you dopamine. It's going to help you last longer, do things longer, relieve stress, relieve mood, executive function, emotional management, absolutely everything.
It does. And you know, I was just thinking of another benefit of it too, which some people might think, well, this is not really a benefit, but it kind of gives us opportunity, you know, because emotion regulation
Mm.
can be a huge challenge. So it kind of gives us an opportunity to practice tolerating moderate stress and
Yeah.
discomfort
Mm.
and can kind of, you know, maybe build the threshold of that a bit. So if there's a lower stakes way to practice pushing through the discomfort of, I don't know, whatever it is someone's doing, lifting weights, jogging. Um,
Mm.
when I was in yoga teacher training, we had an instructor that liked to put us in a chair pose hold and just kind of, she enjoyed it a little too much. But I can remember thinking, you know, and I actually starting to sweat and feeling really agitated. And I was like,
Mm.
oh, I think I get what she's doing. This is an opportunity to practice being uncomfortable. And how am I going to choose to breathe
Yeah.
and cope through this? And
Mm.
so it can be a little bit of a safer way to practice stepping in and out of some stress and discomfort in a way that, you know, gives us that practice of regulating.
Yeah. And I think some of the pitfalls I see with clients and myself is this thing of, well, I'm not doing it enough, or how do I do it? I'm not doing it in the normal way. The gym doesn't work for me. It's not structured. It's not motivating, or I I'm not feeling it today, or it's too much, and I think that sometimes a lot of it is down because we're not actually seeing the importance of it, and we're not seeing the effects of it. So I'm hoping that in this second half we can kind of really figure out how we do it ourselves. But what do you see the biggest pitfalls?
I think sometimes the more it feels prescriptive, the more we actually want to, or maybe not even, or sometimes punitive too.
Yeah.
Um, the more we might be likely to resist. I think time can be a huge challenge.
Mm.
If you're already tired, then it's even more difficult to feel like you have the energy
Yeah.
to get up and move, whether you're you know, walking around where you live or exercising in your home or trying to get to a gym. Um, there can be a lot of barriers to it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's thing where sometimes when we make something up so much in our mind, it becomes a bar in itself.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think by kind of talking about what's actually reason why we do it can also sometimes help us figure out then how we do it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So we're back in the second half where we're going to talk about how we actually get this going. And because that's the magic question. So we'll be back after the break. And we're out. If you would like any more information on Indigo Hub or our Indigo support group, then please check out our website below or our link to our social media platforms or email at indigohub.adhd@gmail.com. If you would like to offer any comments, feedback, get support, or if you're interested in the world hearing your story, then please reach out through any of our avenues. As said before, have a positive week. Check in again later. And we're out. And we're back. And before the first half, we were talking about exercise and what we can do. And we were kind of just talking there. We've brought kind of basic science here, but what we wanted to do is just to show you that there is a purpose to it. And there is a reason, but like we said, and anything that we've shared will be below. So please, if you are interested in the science, please go, because I find without the why, I'm not going to do it. So Holly, so now we know the why. How do we get this going? How do we actually start exercising?
Well, I have an interesting little story just kind of based on an experience with a client. It was kind of the same. Oh, I know I should be exercising. I know it'll make me feel better. And that's what kind of helped me reframe or become aware that it sometimes can feel punitive or just, oh, it's another thing you should be doing in your life. And I said, okay, what if we take away the word exercise and we think of it as movement, some sort of movement practice? And this client leaned back and said, I know exactly what I want to do now, and was very excited. And to this day is still continuing to do that. So it was just taking away, we started out this discussion with all the different things that the word exercise can mean. And so I've started framing it a little bit more about what would you enjoy doing? Gardening is exercise.
Yeah.
Walking your dog is exercise. I mean, there's just so many different ways to move. It doesn't mean you have to be in a gym throwing big, heavy weights around or, running 15 miles on the trail every day. There's so many different ways that this can look. And so I think one of the first things to think about is, what do you enjoy doing?
I think that's such a nice way of doing it. And I always have this saying that I say to people, and people always find it quite funny because it doesn't make any sense, but I'm going to share it. Is the day I stopped going to the gym is the day I started to exercise and lose weight. And I didn't mean to, and actually stay consistent, is because I bought what was stressful for me. I'd go to the gym, I'd sit there and go, what do I do? I'd watch the people, and then I'd try and learn videos. And then I would make loads of excuses not to go. And then the next week I'd be like, oh, I need to go. So I'd go. And the same thing would happen. And the day I stopped going to the gym and actually started doing what I enjoyed, or doing it in a way I enjoy it, I started to actually be consistent. And I think that's thing, like for me, what I enjoy is having a target and going towards that, having structure, consistency, but also a lot of variability. So I box, I run, and I weight train, and then I walk my dog. And that is very different things. I can't be one of those people that runs 6 days a week. I did it for 4 days and it's just boring. I like box, it keeps me going, but I like weight, but then I have to have a structured program. And I do it all at home. So I made like a gym at home, but I don't call it my gym. I just call it like my space. Like it's not the gym and I have to go to the gym. It's just that I'm going to do weights today. I'm going to run today. I'm going to, and that's the thing I found was taking, I realized I'm going down a rabbit hole, but is taking kind of the stress out of it.
I mean, I agree. And then I think what you said is the variability is so important too, that you don't have to just do the same thing 5 days a week, or you may find that what you do changes over time.
Yeah.
So, for example, years ago, I was mountain biking and trail running and getting x-rays every other weekend because I was falling off, flipping over my handlebars in the
Yeah.
mountains. And at some point in time, I thought, I'm really just not enjoying this anymore. And now I've switched what I'm doing, and it's more gentle. And for me, just as effective.
Mm.
It's a little more calming for my nervous system, which is what I need more of right now. And so it's okay to get bored and change. It's okay to feel something change or shift in your body. I've had injuries over the years and I've had to adapt and modify. Just because you pick something doesn't mean you're stuck doing it for
Yeah.
the rest of your life. And I would say it's important to change it up, to keep it
Yeah.
interesting so that you're excited about learning something new.
And momentarily every day. Like there's some days where I'm like, oh, I just don't want to run today. And it's different if it's every day, right? Like, oh, I don't want to do that. Oh, I don't want to do that. But I used to go like, oh, I'm really tired. I don't want to go for a run. So go for a walk. Do something different. So I go for a walk, or tell you what, I'm gonna box today rather than that, or I've only got the capacity for 10 minutes rather than 30 minutes. And I think that that's the thing. It's being variable of what you enjoy, but then also doing it in a way that you enjoy. So it is not so much like a chore.
Yeah. And I think you touched on something too. It's about really adjusting it to your lifestyle. So it's important to protect time for it. But that might mean on one day you just have 10 minutes to do
Mm.
something.
Yeah.
It might mean that if you're going to fit it in, you're rolling your yoga mat out between the dining room table and the sofa because you need to do it at home because of your schedule and you're going to figure it out.
Mm.
It's important to have realistic expectations
Yeah.
as well of yourself and what you can ask your body to do.
Yeah. So it's that thing of like, what do you enjoy doing? And then how can you create that space to enjoy it, but then also to fit your lifestyle? What time of day? So for me, I have to
Yeah.
exercise every morning. And people go, what? You don't take a rest day? I get that so many times from people that are like, I just get that. You don't take a rest day. That's really bad. But I'm like, yes, but I'm not running and weight training and the same thing every day. Some days I might just do an easy run, or a longer walk or something, but I don't take a day because I can't. My brain needs that. And I think that that's the thing of making it your own and fitting it what time of day, doing it in a way that works for you, having a goal, all these things that really work for you in your life.
And I think I would agree. And I think adding to it, there's a couple different things too
Mm-hmm.
to maybe make it a little bit easier. So, for example, if you do exercise in the morning, get everything laid out the night before.
Yeah.
I mean, everything: socks, shoes, the clothes you're going to wear, your water bottle, towel, whatever it is you need, get it all out and close to where you're sleeping so that you're just removing barriers. What you're doing is you're making it that much easier. 30 seconds easier, a minute easier. It's one less thing that you have to do. And if you're using apps or doing something from home, maybe even deciding the night before what you're going to do, because there's nothing like being 6 or 6:30 in the morning and you're tired and you're like, I don't feel like doing anything. And then you're trying to choose between all these classes or different exercise things you can do. So sometimes planning and making some of those decisions a little bit in advance can make it easier to just roll right into it and get started.
And the same, like if you finish work, taking your gym, finding, if you go to the gym, finding a gym on your way home from work rather than having to come home and then sit down. Oh, I can't, it's almost how can you transition into it easy, whether you need an accountability partner. I know one of my clients, she has to have a class. If she's got a class, she knows she'll go because she won't have on that expectation of not going. So whether it's body doubling or an app, like I can't just run. I need to know what I'm doing, how I'm doing. So I have a a really good app that I will put below. I don't have a thing, but it's called Runner, and it's got weight training and all that, and I have to have that. The same for boxing, because it's a target, and I have to have a half marathon. But you know, it's a target. It's a way to keep that motivation and that kind of momentum up, and making it so easy that it's hard to get out of it.
Yeah. It's knowing about what's going to work for you. Like you mentioned, the group exercise. For some people, that's the only way it's going to work. For other people, they'd rather have a quiet morning and do something at home or wherever they have room to exercise. So it's about learning what works for you. And maybe it's a combination of both. Maybe there's some days you're doing something on your own and you're grabbing a group class a couple days a week.
There's these definite steps that are coming out for me. Is kind of, you know, what word or why are you doing it, and then what would you enjoy doing, and then how can you make it fit into your life, and then how can you stick to it. So it's, you know, what activity you're going to choose, how's that going to make it fit into your life, how are you going to make it fit into a routine, and then how can you stick with it, because it's not just one thing you pick up one day and you do it and then that's it, it's stuck. You know, it is like we talked about before, it's a continual thing.
You know, and I'm also thinking too how with task initiation, sometimes it's helpful to visualize ourselves doing it, or visualize what it's going to feel like when we're doing it and when we're done. So that can be another skill that can apply to this, to think about how I'm going to picture myself rolling out of bed in the morning, rolling right into my clothes and going on a walk or going to the gym. And then I'm also going to think about how much better I'm going to feel afterwards, that I stuck to my goal and I kept this commitment to myself. And so, you know, kind of future forward thinking and visualizing a little bit can be powerful, rather than thinking I'm too tired and my clothes are dirty, and you know, it's to focus on what will get you the momentum towards that.
And I think that's why having some sort of purpose or goal will really help, because I know, like, for me, and a lot of my clients, without purpose, I sound like a sloth. There's just nothing. I'm not going anywhere. I'm just here. So whether it's, you know, you've got a weight challenge with a friend, or, you know, you want to do it for this many days and then you'll book yourself a holiday, or, you know, like for me, I have to have a race. You know, I have to have like a 10K or a half marathon to get to work up to, because it keeps that, for me, that's the biggest thing. What stick to on a daily basis, but then long term, what am I going to stick? How am I actually going to stick to it? And I feel that goal, and, you know, it's what type of exercise do you like? Then how are you going to keep that, and what is it that's going to really fit with your life? Any other thoughts?
No, I think, except that I think it's possible to find a way that works for you. It really is. And it doesn't have to be a certain type of movement. It doesn't have to be for a certain amount of time. It's whatever is going to work for you.
And I also want to add that if you feel that right now what you're doing is not working, rather than you're not working, it's not working. Maybe it's just not the right time, or the right time of day, or, you know, it's we always think sometimes, oh, like, I'm not a gym goer. Well, actually, I am a gym goer, but I just don't like going to an actual gym because it doesn't work. So I bought it at home. You know, it's how can you, you know, it's fix the environment, not the flower. You know, change what you're doing versus changing you.
Right. Yeah.
Experiment with it, because it's you know, go to one class, then book 5. You know, go for a trial, then commit to it. You know, trial and error. So any last thoughts?
Actually, I like what you just said about trial and error. And I was thinking sometimes finances can be a barrier. So there are a lot of ways to work around that too. And if you're interested in going out for group classes, a lot of places will offer like 1 week free or the first session free. So you can decide if you really want to commit to that as well.
Yeah, I had one client that would go to different places every week for free just to try out. They did that for a month just to see if it worked. And I thought it was brilliant. Why not?
Yeah.
Yeah. Basically, I think it basically comes down to let's make this enjoyable, right? We've got one life. Like, let's not go, oh, there's going to be those days, right? I still have those days, I'm not. But that's days versus weeks or months, because let's make this enjoyable, fit into our lives, and be able to stick to it and get to what we want, because it is beneficial. And when you start to do it more and more, you enjoy it and it becomes less of a battle.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So we've discussed quite broadly, like different things to try, different things to look at it. But I think the question is, what do you enjoy doing? And then make that happen. And whatever you need to stick to that and get that going, do it. Yeah. Because guess what? It can help your brain, it can help you, and it can just help everything. So why not try it? And why not try something today? Try something different. Why not? Thank you so much again, Holly. Absolute pleasure.
Yes, always enjoy it. Thank you.
And next time we'll talk about food, which is a huge topic in it for me anyway. Something that I've struggled with quite a long time. So I'm looking forward to talking about that. And we'll leave again with another story and lots of things to think about. Less deep, but also actually quite deep, because it helps the brain and there's lots of ways to do it. But I hope we've left you with something to go try and do, because that's what we want to do here. We want to be able to give that service so that you can feel like there are steps that you could go and try. And if it doesn't work, then that's okay. Try some another day. But we come back, learn, listen, and experience the world through not my eyes, but our eyes. Why not? Have a great week and get some movement in, or exercise, or fun. And we're out. Dear Diary, as Indigo Hub's process goes on, it makes me stop and wonder, could there be more for us? More light, more experience, and more ways to see the world through our own eyes. I think this journey will be... Shh.